chair and the MC of the session. A few names I know, two puzzlers, my dear friends have been, I think, a few times earlier, not just one. So I think this hall I'm for the first time, second time. But I think two times I've been to Miller Hall. And the first, actually, I still remember it was a very official session of good time. About myself, to the very few who I have not met probably, I'm Dr. Sreevals Menon. I hail from Calicut, Malabar, and I've been a clinician for quite some time in my early years, and then I moved on to some kind of organizational activities, and then into an NGO, which I do now. My platform, which I made myself at the level of NGO, because my private clinics are not very important, because that's what we do for a living, and that's a partly an ethical, partly a business aspect, and as we all know. But what I've probably done the best in my life is that I've started this NGO 3 years back called Global Homeopathy Foundation, and it is taking us into a large scale of visibility, where we have already had around 5 events in India of a very remarkable nature, and we are coming up with one, by God's grace. Let's hope it will be possible by April in Dubai as well. And at the moment we are having, this NGO has around 7 trustees, of which one of the trustees is a former Civil Aviation Secretary of India called Madhavan Nambiyar, now the KSIDC chairman, and is a judge to the Oxford School also in UK. So a few like him, and also among our patrons we have from Kerala, we have Abdul Samad Samadani, we got enormously close after we became together on this trust. And then we have a global giant who is actually close to the world leaders as our international patron, and her name is none other than Ila Gandhi, Mahatma Gandhi's granddaughter, Manilal Gandhi's daughter to be precise. And all these relationships started internationally due to my earlier schedules of traveling and giving talks. I was one of the earliest homeopaths from South India, probably, to blindly write abstracts for international conferences, even before I did not have an MD with me. So I was a graduate. In my internship, I sent my first saying that I'm a doctor, because they did not have a clause for an intern and a doctor. They did not ask for a registration number. So I said I'm a doctor, and I sent my first abstract to Brisbane. I still remember that. And they rejected it. And around 3 or 4 times, 5 times I got rejected, because the very fundamental thing was that I did not know how to write an abstract, and I wrote what I thought was an abstract. So, but that was not an abstract. The abstract they wanted in a very refined, denominated terms, and those days, it was the earliest years of emails. I used to have one of my primitive emails on Hotmail, which later on became paid, and I just cancelled it at some point of time. Then I switched on to the later email. And I still remember the emails came back with a lot of, sometimes they will say try to stick to the basics and all. And then I still remember, I feel enormously thankful to one of her, I think all of us know her, Madam Yamini Tangachi, who is the wife of a former minister. She is actually a person whom we know as a lady who has come on TV because of her husband's issue with her husband. But actually she is a very major researcher in the field of healthcare. It's connected to Robert Brown Foundation in Arizona, Stop Tobacco Movement internationally, so the NRHM as a director in Kerala. So she has a lot of posts she has handled, and she's very good in clinical, academic, clinical and medical research aspects. She was the first that was around nearly 10 years back. During the first time when she had those struggles, and when she was often on TV because of some divorce petitions. The joke is that I used to see a different lady when I interact with her on a professional basis through my cousin in NACO. I must be knowing National AIDS Control Organization. Through my cousin, I got to know her. But he's actually heading the NACO at those times. And then I came to know how to write an abstract. Why was my abstracts being... None of these mails came back with help for me. They just said, you are rejected. So that learning episode, I'm just trying to reflect into my life and how I started things doing. Then, she actually helped me with an abstract. And my first abstract actually kind of clicked, and I was chosen for the main hall, not to the suburb. Our international conferences normally have 3 days, and at least in 4 to 5 halls. So the peripheral halls will be the same halls where we will have to share with homeopathic dentistry, homeopathic agro-homeopathy and veterinary homeopathy. So it's not those halls will have less than 50 seating, and the main hall will have around 1,800 to 1,000 seating. So the subordinate halls will be less attractive, and the worst part is sometimes you get even poster presentations where I'm sure many of you know that you have to stand near the poster and you have to explain to a small group and see this is what it is. And that is when you're not selected for an oral. So maybe around from 1,000 or 2,000 papers which come from all over the world, they select maybe around 50 to 60, and in that at least 30 will be oral speaking and other will be one. So those were the days of triumph for me, because the way she actually put it, and I was first selected to the Riga conference for it is in Latvia for the European Homeopathy Congress. And then and this is an area where we actually get visible for other speakers, and there are people who come to such conferences to buy time and buy sessions of speakers. So there you have a good load of people coming from different parts of the world, not essentially Europe. So the Canadian group of homeopaths, they all whoever wants to learn about new tactics in treatment. Now, why I'm talking about this is I just want to reflect to this part of my life into what I'll be going to say later. So these people actually come and buy us time. Earlier, the first talk I had to spend myself, I had to register for the conference, pay. I took a loan for that. I still remember. I took a small personal loan for that because it was costing almost 1.25 lakhs at those times, and including everything. Because everywhere you have to pay, because initial exposure in such platforms, you have to get selected, and then again you'll have to spend. And then they buy you, they have to negotiate with them. So the early 2-3 people gave me only travels, and travel and stay, and that were the basic things. And later on, it started getting better and better. So then I kept on going for all the international events. My abstract style changed, and every time I started negotiating with them that sometimes if they don't give you the main call, I tell them if it's in the main hall, you come back to me. If there is any opportunity in the main hall, otherwise I stuck to only the main hall because you can reach a bigger audience. Then the time of getting really paid for conferences started with South Africa, when I got a first a lump sum amount for a 3-day event, which actually could even help my clinic to get refurbished. I could spend the whole money on my clinic to, I'm sure one of the puzzles actually, I've seen that clinic in the earlier form and the later form. I think the second part of refurbishment is still going on. My main clinic, actually I run a chain of clinics on my main clinic. So the entire money was from them. Then the government of Sri Lanka, some contacts at the conference asked me to be a consultant advisor because the fund from the homeopathic segment was not enough to have a permanent advisor. So they chose me as consultant advisor for homeopathy, and they approached me again. Then I was a consultant advisor for Sri Lanka in homeopathy sector for almost 2.5 years, where I set up a Hahnemann Institute of Homeopathy in Sri Lanka under the government, under the ministry. Actually, it was a private funded by the government, and then I was a faculty to that plus the advisor to that. So that was also a very high remuneration thing, and I understood it is the way you could earn actually from outside what you also practice. It's always a service-based thing. It can't be connected entirely to a business. So you have to see the practice angle as a service-based initiative where you have to do certain things to the most, the people who really deserve to be given discounts, who probably have to have free treatment. We also have to do that. But then our fixed expenses are the same. And still you have to find money from all this income to actually make your facility even better. To go to NABH accreditation, come back to your JCI here, you have to invest a lot of money. And all these things started coming to me from my external speaking. And I used to get, for 2.5 days, I used to get $3,000 as a consultant charge from Sri Lanka, which was a big money in terms of almost 2 lakhs, where the travel and all these things were separately taken care by them. And they used to give a guest house, and even including a gunman, because I was from India. And the LTD, in the rules, they have a problem with that LTD, and I never knew unless I went for the 5th time that my person who used to come in my car had a gun with him, and he was technically a gunman and not an official of the ministry. So those phases in life were very important. So what I was trying to come down is this is what I've been my life, and some kind of after all this speaking, South Africa, Malaysia, to Cyberjaya University, I was a regular teacher there. Dubai, I came a few times for your health authority of Abu Dhabi. I came and spoke in Rotana Beach, what is the tourism area there. I think 2 or 3 times for health authority. HAB is the health authority of Abu Dhabi, right? Yes. So they approached me and I come there. I think the event was conducted by Lotus Group of Khalifa City. I think her husband is one of the ministers of. Her husband incidentally was the Singaporean president. No? He was the ambassador to Singapore from UAE initially. So she still remembers having bought few buildings in Singapore. One of our best hotels called. I'll tell you the name.
Russell or something?
No. I'll tell you. Coptown Kings, near the port. Okay. That building belonged to her. And she did that. She did that shopping when she did that building shopping when she was as an ambassador's wife in Singapore. She was into a lot of NGOs also there. She arranged my first visit with my family to Singapore a long back because we used to know because she runs a lot some clinics also.
You came on the television also sometime back.
In which one?
On the Menon television.
Yeah. That I've been often because I was the national secretary to Indian Homeopathic Medical Association for 2 years. So almost around 5-6 years on every April 10th, Asianet used to call me. April 10th is a International Homeopathy Day. Yeah. So you can come in 2 ways in TV in homeopathy because as a doctor. There are 2 ways you can come. One is actually to be you have spaces in every channel called Medi Talk and Medi. It's actually Hello Doctor and all these things. It's purely a clinical thing where you talk about. So that you get frequent calls, but again, you always ask whether you can sit in my clinic and do because it's not worth going to Trivandrum or Cochin and giving it and coming. But that is something which actually promotes your career, and that I have done in my early career. I've done around 30-40 times, mostly with India Vision, Kerala, Kairali TV, and all those people. But later on, was the real interaction was on a morning show. See, the real respect you get from media is when you become a chief guest for them on their morning show, not aired from another place where you sit with a headphone and talk about an opinion which the Times now does, Arnav does. But when they are with them on your sofa, sitting in the that was actually the luck which I got from Asianet for 3 or 4 years consecutively, of which the last was the best where Alagananda interviewed me. So that was one of the best times in my life, and people see it when you Google. I think that comes to the first now. Sreevals, when you Google Sreevals, I think that interview comes. I think Alagananda and then man, they got me, and I could speak a lot of things about homeopathy in that. It was April 10th. I think this time also April 10th I'll be on Asianet. So they frequently call me even after the organizations. Also they have started calling me because of the GHF NGO aspect. So my speaking career kind of stopped at those times. In between, because I started looking at my own clinic. For last 3 years, I had stopped speaking. Now at this verge of time when I am with you now, I was actually organizing the GHF part also, Global Homeopathy Foundation. At this moment, I've assured myself and my family because my wife was the biggest person who was hurt because of my frequent travels at those times for almost 7 years to Europe and different parts, mostly to Europe, but once in a while I used to get Latin America and sometimes Africa also. And GCC and Southeast was always, could come in 2 days, but those will take at least 5 to 6 days time. And my children were growing, so around 3 years I took a break. I've been enough with my family, except for these Dubai visits and all those things. I've not traveled much in the past, and one Singapore visit also in the last 3 years time. 1 or 2 visits I think, but it's great that to have a reminder about Singapore and stuff. But again, this time I'm started doing it again, and next month I'm going for I was telling her just now, for a 12 days talk in 5 countries. We are going as a GHF team. Now I have changed my brand into GHF. We fully get endorsed to GHF and we go as GHF speakers. And I'm quite humble to also tell you that I'm chosen for my lifetime achievement award, honoring from Ministry of Romania, Health Ministry of Romania, from the Institute of Alternative Medicine. I think their minister is honoring me on 25th of November at Bucharest at their 5th annual conference. So I'm also given a full day on 24th to give a 7 speaker session. So this international recognition came to me with it's the first time I've been chief guest to some events abroad. I've been to South Africa, but there was also their national conference. But this is the first time they're speaking about something about honoring for your deliveries to the system, which has actually been very very big for me, and we are coupling with Vienna talk and funding. Then we are also planning for a World Homeopathy Summit in Greece in the 2017 end. So this time my travel will be all. Now I'm just coming back to what I'm saying. This is the actual scenario where I work today because but then there was a beginning of very deprived motivation Because most of my parents actually, I reached homeopathy not by choice but by destiny. I think very few patients have asked me, I don't remember if when you have asked me, some of my patients have asked me, because seeing the interest I show to the developing the system and what I've contributed to the system, some of them think I chose homeopathy to make my career and I walked into it. It was not so. Like any other young person aspiring to become a doctor, at those days when I thought being a doctor was being a mainstream doctor, conventional medicine doctor, because that was a truth. And then my plus 2 times, I don't think I delivered enough because of some wrong friends who actually got me quite distracted. Though I was pretty good in academics in 11th, in 12th I sank by at least 10 to 20%. Because I got distracted because one of my friends had a loan house and a driver, and we used to be always into movies and stuff. And all kind of, all those days, when you are in 15, 16, what kind of movies you will watch? What are the often, what you end up when, you actually say you are going for a combined study and you end up doing nothing. So those were the reason where I got, my academic curriculum came out at least 10% less. And that was one of the reasons I ended up in homeopathy, to be frank. Because primary ranks will always go to the basic, and that time BDS was on a high scale, but BDS was not something I wanted to do. So my second option was to be only either the conventional doctor or the alternative medicine doctor. And at the same time I got into engineering, which I knew was not my cup of cake, my cup of tea. So finally I came into homeopathy, and when I heard homeopathy, my mother used to take homeopathy in spite of being a head nurse in modern medicine. She used to have homeopathy often, and she has taken me also to Rajaram and a few doctors in Calicut. I had an eczema, according to her, which I don't remember, it was in childhood, and it was cured out of homeopathy. And that was the only experience I heard from her, but I was not even aware that I took not modern medicine, something else, because I was small at that time. I heard about a few good names primarily about Dr. Ismail Said's success, and my friend Dr. Arun Prasad's father, KPK Prasad, and all those people in Calicut. And I thought, yes, why not I take it up? I joined the college. I got selected by merit in 2 institutions by marks, and in Kerala I got it in government college also, but for Father Muller's it was a merit-based selection. I finished the course, and between doing this course, plenty of my relatives, my friends, and all these people, my well-wishers asked me, why homeopathy? What will you be able to do? Those times, homeopathy was much more insignificant. I'm talking about 30 years back. I'm 44 now. So yeah, exactly around 27 to 28 years back. I've been deprived from my relatives, friends, most of them, but except few, who actually said, you're going a good thing. Now when I came out of BHMS, before my MD days, again came the demotivation. And though I liked homeopathy so much, I was so enthused by what I studied, and then I came to know why have I come here. Then I understood how differentiated homeopathy is from modern medicine. And what was modern medicine? That's what I realized when I studied it. My cousins and my uncles again pushed me and said, no, don't stay in this field. All of your relatives are doing big, and they actually have that format of homeopath as probably a quack next door. I hope you understand what I'm saying. A quack next door and a very insignificant practitioner next door, and they've probably not heard of many great people across the world who actually
because live with dispensaries where there are then small dispensaries.
Small dispensaries, but internationally, even then homeopathy was big in
yes.
in different parts of Europe. Homeopathy was a major. In Belgium, France, everywhere homeopathy is an official system, and the clinics are huge. US alone had 100 homeopathic hospitals before the Second World War. It transformed due to the penicillin induction, and Alexander Fleming came with penicillin, and the same thing changed. Now, I'm just saying about the deprivation part. I mean, the kind of the strength or confidence deprivation I'm talking about, not the general deprivation I'd say. And that is when I really started thinking. And then I was handed out a book. This was an important thing. One of my very close uncle who came to me. At that time banks used to have BSRB exams.
Yeah.
BSRB exams. He handed me out a book. See, you're smart. Only they call me. You're smart. Don't waste time being an alternative medicine doctor. You keep this. He gave me this book. It happened in a temple in Guruvayur. We had gone for a wedding the previous night. He got this book from somewhere. Somebody went out, bought it from a bookstore, and this loving uncle gave me this. He's actually a very senior, very senior most employee of State Bank of India. Now he comes here. This entire family comes to me as a patient, and he sees me and my clinic having, the other patients not allowing them to enter sometimes, to having to get getting an appointment or some tamasha he has to do by getting to the next cabin. You know that I have 3 cabins connected. So they'll normally come to the other cabin, and I'll go from this cabin to that cabin to see them. And the patients won't know that I am seeing them. So you have to treat them at the same time. You can't disrespect your patients. So he reminded me of that a couple of weeks back when he came, the BSRB book which he gave me, and he asked me, save your life. Go for this. You're right. You can grasp this. Because I've already been on scholarship during my school days and all because of such exams. This math is nothing big, you can do it. And he wanted me to be a professional officer in the bank. Then that was the time, for the next 3 days, that was the biggest, though he did it with love, he did it with real big love for me. That was the 3-4 days of transformation and a kind of transition for me which happened, which actually I researched with him. Enhancing the positive drives in you. That's what I suggested. I thought, if I don't, I studied from a college what I liked, which I did not know about, but something which actually it kind of got transfused into me in the best of its kind, because most of the initial teachers which I had in Father Muller's were from converted homeopaths from homeopathy to allopathy, like ICCRH, Indian Council ICRH. Dowling, where the father and son were MBBS and MD psychiatrists who transformed homeopathy with a course called M of Home London, like FRCS. It's done in the UK, and they come back as homeopaths and they started practicing in a big hospital. Even today, in the Palghar, like Maharashtra, they have a huge hospital which goes with a Center of Excellence award for 10 crores. It recently became a Center of Excellence place. They got 200 crores from a Surat-based diamond seller whose mother got cured from cancer. Imagine. So that whole enterprise is so big. They have started a chain of clinics in the entire Maharashtra, that area. I forgot that Palghar is a district name, Palghar. They have, I think you can Google and find out. The whole money came from them, and the 100 crores they have put in a fixed deposit, and they are growing it. And now they get enough money from the government. It's a huge enterprise started by 2 allopaths. So I just wondered, if these allopaths who could transfer to get into homeopathy, then why not me, who has nothing to lose or gain? I have studied graduation, done a graduation. Why not I induce that positivity in me? Why not I create that energy in me to rise? And today, I live in a very small town called Ramanatagara. Not too small, but not too big either. And we have around 38 allopaths in that city and around 15 homeopaths in that small city. And most of these allopaths don't consider me a homeopath. They consider them the other homeopaths, and when they talk about them, especially some of my friends, or when they call me for a friendly IMA meeting, they say, we don't consider you like a homeopath. So, I am happy at the same time sad about that, because their frame of homeopaths, I don't fit into that. I don't fit into that frame they have made for a homeopath. Like you're going at the right time, Alphonse. I'm just talking about how I emerged. He has been one of my best friends, roommate during the BHMS days, and his name is Dr. Alphonse de Souza. He hails from a very centuries-old family in Mangalore. As a Konkani Catholic of Goa origin, right? And he has been one of the